Bonjour Wachie, Linda Nothing Dishinkas, Mishkanzaki Kanikanduchi, Namebindudem. My name is Linda Nothing. I'm from Bearskin Lake First Nation. The Suckerfish is my clan. I'll be talking about the project that I started for this course. And I did some speaking points, so I'll be referring to those from time to time. This is my executive summary. Bearskin Lake is a remote community that is dealing with drug addictions. In the early 2000s, the doctors started prescribing opioids for pain treatment, and many people became addicted. The project is to create a culturally appropriate treatment center guided by the community during the whole process. And as an introduction, in my role for my community's band representative programs, I have access to funding for capital projects. I was asked by my chief and council if I could look at building a treatment center for addictions. This request actually came slightly ahead of this course on seeing the need, creating the solution. I decided building the treatment center would be my project for this course. My skill that I brought to this is that I have the same lived experience being raised in the community. I am a language speaker. I can consult with the community based on that I am a band member. In using some of the literature for this course, I found the book by the authors Bob M and J very helpful. The book is called Recreating the World, and I used the medicine wheel as the template for engaging with people. And I'm also in the book they use the medicine wheel in many ways to help help do community engagement. The authors have a mapping system which I use to plan my meeting in the community. I invited social workers, mental health workers, teachers, chief and council, and everyone that could come to the meeting. Bob talk about creating determinants in the mapping. My community wants healthy families free from addictions. That's the central goal of the community. And from that, I could connect other determinants in the community that can help create healthy families, culture, language, community, solidarity, and workshops. So the community has many strengths. And when I did the mapping, I was able to create a lot of those strengths that I see in the community, including the resources that we have in the community, and also the knowledge and skills of the resource workers. Part of my Miskasoan is with my community. I grew up there. I know all the families. I know our losses and gains. I use 2 solid lines to show my ties and closeness to the whole community. Support and strength come from my community members. The families are all interrelated. The families get along well most of the time. The reason for the treatment center, though, is because of the drug addiction that entered in the early 2000s. To highlight this relationship, I use a jagged line to indicate addictions have severed the close ties with some families and with community members. The community Miskasoan is centered in people. The leadership want the people to be healthy. I use solid lines to show the good intentions of the leadership to have healthy families. So in the application of doing the project I had to think of a way to get funded for the treatment center. So the first steps to creating the treatment center is to seek how to fund the project. I contacted Indigenous Services Canada, who told me that they could fund the project. They also gave me steps to follow. The first step is to do a needs assessment. And that includes going into the community, discussing what the needs are, talking to the band members, and seeing how the drug addiction has impacted the community. And then once that is done and approved by Indigenous Services Canada, then we can do a call for tenders on the project. So that's their rules. That's what we're going to follow. And but there's also different process for the community, and that's to go in and do the community engagement that I mentioned earlier. We have to ensure the community is leading the process and that they are there from the start to the finish of the project. So there's a constant consultation with the community on the project. So this project is underway in that I am consulting with the community on how program delivery will look. I have called 2 organizations to conduct the feasibility studies. The treatment center is part of other capital projects that is included in the feasibility study. And I will be establishing a committee to guide the process in the community, because the community knows where the best sites will be for the center. And they also are aware of the process to build, because it's mostly muskeg in that area, so they know how to build the ground and where to build it, and for the infrastructure as well, like sewer and water. So those are all important topics to talk about when we meet. They also wanted other buildings, so that the treatment center is included in those talks, and the feasibility study is also looking at the other buildings that the community wants, and those buildings are post-majority homes. People, youth that have aged out of care, they need homes. Some of them are homeless. We'll be building in Thunder Bay, Sulikout, and Bearskin. So there's going to be a lot of meetings and a lot of interaction around this project. But the most important one is trying to get the treatment center built, because people have been using Suboxone since early 2000s to try and wean off the oxycodone, and apparently there's some long-term health effects that come from Suboxone, which includes it weakens the bones and the teeth. Their teeth start to go. So they're really worried about what the long-term effects are if they continue to use it. So I think it's important to try and get the treatment center up and running. So one big lesson that I learned from doing this project is that I had hoped to have the feasibility study done by the time the end of this by the time we finish this course, but that's not going to happen because one of the contractors that works in the community referred me to an organization to do the needs assessment. We met a couple of times by Zoom and then they disappeared. So now the timeline will be longer before we can get the work started. In one of my talks, I think it was touch base number 3. I talked about my guiding process on how I'm going to do this project, and one of them is the first phase is that the needs assessment and the community engagement. So that was my goal for this course, to finish that first phase. The second phase, we'll have the committee established and we'll have the tender. We'll call for tender for build. And then the third phase, which I was hoping would be in the summertime, community meetings to design service delivery and programming. How are we going to do treatment? We did talk a little bit about it, and the mental health workers that I met with talked about having a detox right in the community near the medical center, near the clinic, so that we can utilize the nurses and doctors that come in to help us with the detox part. And then once the person has gone through detox, then the treatment would transfer over to a land-based programming. There's a camp not too far from the community. I think it's about maybe half an hour by plane, small plane, and there's cabins there. And so they wanted to continue the treatment to land-based. So they would be doing fishing, hunting, just in general, living off the land, and doing also doing some talk therapy, ceremony and prayer. My community is Christian, so but I view it as a positive way of connecting people through religion, depending on how it's done. They pray a lot. I know that every time we have a meeting, there's an opening prayer and a closing prayer. We also debrief on situations. So this is one of the ways that they were talking about having the programming in the land-based models. One of the elders that I talked to, he was talking about, he used to be a band counselor, and he came upon somebody that had died by suicide, and he tried to revive her. It was actually his niece, I believe, and he suffered trauma over that death. Up to about 2 years, he said he couldn't figure out why he would get into these crying states. And then he would just go home and lie down and not want to do anything. And it wasn't until he went out on the land, he was actually doing like cutting wood, getting fish, just doing hands-on work in the land. Then he started to feel better. And he said since that time, he's been really positive. He hasn't had those crying jags sessions anymore, and he said that it's because he was out on the land, and the land is healing. So I agree with the community that the land-based is a really good way of doing the service delivery for the treatment center. So my intent and impact. I have good intentions to have the treatment center built along with helping create the service delivery of a culturally appropriate center. So it has to be designed by the community. The consultation has to be consistent throughout the build and throughout creating the center. The community is the one that's going to be responsible and ensure that it's running properly. The initial discussions have happened in the community. People are wanting the detox component to be in the community with the medical people helping. The longer treatment part, like I said before, will be in the land. And the impact that building a treatment center, the talk of it, is creating hope in the community. People are excited. They're also like coming together to talk about how it's going to be done. They even talk about what kind of foods they're going to make, what kind of crafts they're going to make. They want to do sewing projects with the people while they're in the land-based part. They want to teach them how to hunt, how to catch fish, how to skin when they harvest animals. So they're going to teach them all those activities, and then hopefully even the next generation will benefit from it. So in conclusion, it is important to keep the community engaged, consulting regularly to establish a community to guide the process. It is important to keep it culturally appropriate, using the traditional language, using the strengths from the community, such as elders, knowledge keepers, language keepers, and the mainstream educated professionals. We have many people that carry masters of social work in the community, so they're going to be important in creating the service delivery. It is important to be mindful of our own limitations, to re-evaluate situations if something does not go as intended. The strength-based approach is helpful when mapping the community, such as workers that can be consulted, buildings that can be used. So it is going to be beneficial for the community, and we are all looking forward to it when it is up and running. I hope I can take a picture and send it to everyone when it's up and running. I hope I answered all the questions. Miigwech, thank you.